just like many kids, I was over and let down by the system. My first ever memory is watching my mum kill someone, and my mum was fighting for her life. Yeah, this was the environment that I was growing up around. It was up to me and the light of me to find my way out of that darkness, if that makes sense. And no one was going to come and save me. I had to figure that shit out by myself, and it was either sink or swim, or eat or be eaten. I just want to deliver hope and tell you guys that you can make it through anything. Kia ora whānau. My community know me as LJ. The streets know me as Limit. And originally I grew up in Onehunga, but I have ties to Puriroa and also the greater Auckland region. Yeah, so I've pretty much been brought up everywhere, brother, to be honest. Yeah. Culturally, my background is, so my mum was full Cook Island and my dad was Scottish. So yeah, I'm a bit of a throwback. Definitely the only fair-skinned one in my family. So my old man, both my parents have passed now, but my old man was one of the best solid plasterers of his trade in the Auckland region, well known for that. Also known for some bad stuff back in the Terry Clark days that he used to get up to. Mum was a bit of a criminal as well. She had a few talents and a few things she used to get up to. My mum was into really drug-fueled behaviour. She was always high on ribbies, and so I was around a whole bunch of addicts. To be honest, yeah, a whole bunch of people that were addicted to drugs, antisocial behaviour, drinking, a lot of sexual behaviour. Yeah, this was the environment that I was growing up around. So currently, I'm a solo dad who's also a personal trainer, who's in the process of studying to be a life coach and a mentor. So I do a lot of work in my community and definitely passionate about working with my youth or anyone who's seeking a higher, better version of themselves. That's my occupation. But first and foremost, I'm a father. I've been out of jail for 4 years coming up next week. It's been 4 years since I've been convicted of any crime. I've had my trials and tribulations since I've been out. Just to give everyone a bit of idea of where I've come from. I've been in the system since I was 5 years old. My first ever memory is watching my mum kill someone in an unfortunate accident. She was labelled as a murderer, but my mum's not a murderer. She just she fought for her life and she won. So from the age of 5 years old, right up until 4 years ago, I've been involved in the system on all sorts of levels. So from what I was told, mum got between 7 and 9 years. So she started off at murder, and then it got dropped down to manslaughter. Since this is going on record, I just want to set something straight. Mum was a convicted murderer. She should have never been convicted of anything. There's only three of us in the room that could tell you what happened that day. And now there's only two of us. Now there's only one of you. And that's me. And as young as I was, I knew what was happening. And my mum was fighting for her life. So that doesn't make her a murderer. But yeah, that's how long she done, between 7 and 9 years. Just a little bit of history about my mum. So she was only really small lady, fiercely loyal, and really aggressive. Like she could fight, and she was a real lady full of heart. So yeah, the first memory of my life is seeing that event that I didn't understand at the time. I all I remember was I was sitting in a room playing with my GI Joes, which was a thing back in the day, and I noticed my mum and her boyfriend having an argument, and then a few moments later, he was lying in a bath full of blood, and he was dead. So that was my first memory as a child. So I remember for a while I've been shifted around to a few different homes, and then landing in Puriroa to stay with my mum's sister. from where I would regularly visit mum at Arahata jail. From there, visiting mum in jail, it was yeah. I just remember going up to the jail quite a lot. Every once a week to see mum. Not really understanding what's going on. Being around a lot of my cousins. You know, we grew up in a Polynesian family, so there was always like 10 kids in the household. Um, you know, not much to really go around. Like a lot of my cousins and that all grew up in Puriroa, and that was a whole different side over there. Everyone was really into the mongrel mob. I was used to seeing mobsters come in and out of the house. People getting beaten up. Um, I was the target of a lot of the abuse to some of my uncles who often used me as a punching bag for a number of reasons. Probably a lot of reasons I did deserve back then. But yeah, the abuse got pretty it was pretty hard out, but just normalized that kind of once for warriors type of thinking back then. Because I was often shift around to places, there was times where I was isolated or put around people that should never be around kids. And yeah, things happen. Things got happened to me um, that should have never happened because the adults weren't aware of what was going on. So yeah, there's definitely been abuse happen to me um, through the streets, through the homes, because I was a real angry child. I was, you know, my files say that I was strangling kids at 5 years old. I was already producing antisocial behavior. My first primary school I went to was Tower Primary, but that turned out to be one of 9 primary schools I went to. Eventually I made the shift to Auckland when I was young, and then I went to um, a lot of different schools from Freeman's Bay School, Ponsonby Primary, Mount Ross School Primary. So any school that would take me in Auckland, really, just like many kids, I was over and let down by the system. Um, but I don't focus too much on that because I also I'm good at seeing things from different perspectives, and I would have known that back when I grew up, the system didn't have the tools available to you now to be able to figure out what was going on. So I got no remorse or bitterness towards the system and the things that happened to me. I'm also wise enough to know that I put a lot of bad stuff out there in the community through all the pain and suffering that I had gone through. So I was putting it back on my community at the time, not understanding my behaviors, my thought processes, or the reasons I was doing the things I was doing. Starting off as a criminal, I started off as a petty theft, a little petty criminal, which I just do silly and dumb things. And at the age of like 11 years old, I started I cracked my first safe, which was quite a significant amount of money. I took that money and I took it home and I shared it with my family. Um, Only the little cousins knew where the money had come from. All the adults thought that I was just a spoiled kid, but I'd stole that money and shared it with all my family. And just like an addict, I was hooked. I knew how I wanted to make money, and I knew where to make the money, and I could just see things that obviously other people couldn't see. Going from that first safe job, and then coming to Auckland, I parked up in Onehunga, and that's where I met all the Tongan boys. I grew up around the TCGs in Onehunga in my teen years. So Onehunga back in the day was I was pretty well known for the drug brawls in the neighborhood. Predominantly back then, it was Crips. Even though I hung out with boys there that were Bloods too. Yeah, around my circles, it was a lot of Tongans who were into drinking methylated spirits, getting into fights, drinking at the cemetery, that type of behavior. Yeah, a lot of violence. Got to a point where I was already racking up violent charges, doing egg robs, pulling guns on people really young. that I started to wanting to really get into making money because it made sense. So I used to get involved with other criminal organizations or look up to them. Back then, for me, it was the KOAs and the HOCs. They were highly organized crime individuals that yeah, I used to look up to really. I'd go out and do jobs myself, which went from robbing banks to a lot of other crimes. So the graduation from robbing a car to a bank robbery to all these other things, it came real quick, and it was something that I was really excited about, something that I love to do, and being able to feed so much people just through doing the job was another factor that got me into those types of crime. Growing up, not having a solid mum or a solid dad, um, it sucked, and I ended up being the one who would go around to the bros' houses, and everyone will know, oh, it's just the bro. Can he stay, mum? And I had a lot of different mums through my friends' mums and stuff like that. Um, it did it made me fiercely independent. Like I was flying around the country, getting up to mischief in my teens, and I had no problem doing that, staying in hotels. I've always said that I didn't care. That it was just a big adventure. But it sucked. Like, there wasn't much birthdays, there wasn't much Christmases. Um, Quite often, when everyone knew once I got locked up, that was it. And it wasn't because I couldn't get bail; it's because no one was coming to get me. And I don't put that on my family because my family didn't know about a lot of this stuff. Me and my mum used to suffer in silence with the battles we were going through. So dad was in and out, but he wasn't really one to hang around. But I know of dad doing big things in Australia, like he had his own nightclubs and he was very involved in the scene back in those days. By the time I'd come to Auckland, I'd already had a criminal record. I was already out on bail. I was 10 years old. I was already up on burglary charges. My interactions with the police, it's just been ongoing. It's been, it was my life. I had multiple aliases at a young age. I've got over 100 convictions that I'm not proud of. Some of them that stem to life imprisonment, 4 egg robs, home invasions, some really serious offending, right up to some more sophisticated type crimes that I used to get up to. But what I want people to understand is I didn't choose this life; it kind of chose me. And then once I was enriched and entrenched in it, it was up to me and the light of me to find my way out of that darkness, if that makes sense. And no one was going to come and save me. I had to figure that shit out by myself, and it was either sink or swim, or eat or be eaten. And that's just the life that I was growing up in, and my reality, really. So yeah, so I first started lagging in 1999. My first taste of the Rock, which is no longer open now. Pretty scary place if you know the history. 15 years old. Not old enough to go out into the yards, so we got pushed out to corrective training. But it wasn't long before I'd be back. 2002, I did a short stint up in Mount Eden prison, and then also up in Paremoremo. Anyone who's been up to Parry, whether you've been to the camps or whether you've been up to the big house, that place holds a lot of mana, and it holds a lot of demons too. And you can feel it when you walk through that hallway. People that think they're tough don't know tough until they've gone to Parry. Mum got out when I was 12, so she had missed my whole childhood by then. But one thing I always noticed about mum is even after she had done that, that darkness was instilled in her. Like, mum didn't play, and that was just mum, really. Like, so it was different. I hadn't been with mum all this time, and now I'm learning about this woman in front of me who's now teaching me how to do crime. and all the adults around me, they were saying that I had a gift because of the way they could see I was like 14, 15 years old, and I was looking after whole families, paying rents for a lot of people, and me and my boys would just come along and just throw money at the problem. So yeah, it was pretty much just a way of life, right? First of all, it's because we were hungry. Like I've walked motorways with my mum, nowhere to go, nowhere to sleep. I've lived in warehouse. I've been homeless. Stayed on the streets with some of the boys. I used to kick it on the streets in Auckland City back in the day. Um, with some of the mean taggers back then, and I loved life on the streets, but that was my reality. There was nowhere to go. Mum was in prison. Didn't know where Dad was. If I wanted to find Dad, I had to go to the local pubs, which was like the Schooner, the Glue Pot. All the Central boys know those spots. Um, but that's how I would find my parents. I'd have to go looking. If I'm not visiting Mum at jail, I'm looking for Dad at a pub. But that was the normality of that was just life. So I was 15 when I had my first son. He was a millennium baby back in 2000. So I guess that's when things started to change a bit. But I was still really entrenched in crime. So from 15 to 18, I was becoming a father, but still in and out of jail. And I didn't do soft time too. Like I'm not flexing on it, but it has to be brought up. Like for a white boy walking through the jail system, it's the worst thing. Like out here on the streets, people talk about being moldy or Polynesian as a description. In prison, the last thing you want to be is white and European because the stigma straight on you that you know you're a kitty toucher or something like that. So if you put that in perspective, you're walking into every yard and you're white, you're getting tested all the time. So I went through Mount Eden. I also went through Waikeria, which was back then it was Central South, which was a quite well known unit for people getting killed, like just crazy stuff. Then also jails down in Rimataka, that kind of thing. So all my time's been spread out around a lot of jails around New Zealand. To be honest, at the start it was eye opening because like you don't go into jail being a G, like especially when you come from a life like me, you go in there and your character you get tested. You constantly get tested, and I'll say back in the day when I first went into jail, I was a punk. People were trying to people were getting stabbed over biscuits and and that's how it was up in the mount. And that was really scary to me, and I didn't even try and make out that I could compete with that stuff. But if I had to, I'd stand my ground and I'd fight. Um, as I got more and more into doing legs, there were situations where I had to fight. I had to fight for my life because in jail I learned how to be a hustler. So there was good pros and cons to jail. Like I didn't really finish my education, but when I went to jail, I got fully educated. I got nearly enough to get my school C. I mingled and I mixed with people that taught me way more than any university or polytech could ever teach you. I would go and play chess with the old guy. I would talk to anybody, and they taught me a whole part of life that no one will ever be able to teach unless you're in my presence or unless you've gone through some sort of significant experience. So, in two ways, misfortune by jail, but really blessed that I went to jail. I met a lot of great people in there. Some people who aren't in our lives now. Significant gang members who like my brother Tiwana, one of the Bay of Plenty dogs. He taught me how to use machinery so I could be a farmer. Like I didn't know any of these skills. I knew how to rob. I knew how to do violent stuff, but I didn't know normal stuff. So I was real grateful for teachings that time that people would give me. That could see different things in me other than just being a criminal. So through this time where I was just like a complete criminal, getting involved in so up here I was mingling around in circles of gangs, of the lifestyle, making kids but not being a father because I didn't know how to be a father. In the past, I've had moments where I'll get out, I'll get me a house, I'll get started, but then I'll just end up falling back into old habits. So bad habits that I used to have that I've conquered would be gambling, um, taking meth. I was growing up and taught the ways of the street, so that's embedded in my DNA right up until my adulthood. So having to go for a journey where I'm like, I went for a journey in prison where I learned a whole different bunch of programs, from straight thinking to DTU to special rehabilitation programs. These programs not only taught me the triggers and the reasons why I was reoffending, it also taught me a lot about my inner self and where and who I really was. It's through that whole journey I was able to understand my behavior and the reason why I really offended, the real reasons behind my behaviors, my emotions, my thoughts and feelings. And I was able to relate that a lot of it had nothing to do with even making it earn. It was how I suppressed my pain and my hurt from the world. The only difference now is I've come back and I want to face my truths. I want to be better. I want to take 100% accountability for how I used to behave and how I used to act. Um, and now in the work that I do now, I want to make sure that all the youth out there, all the troubled people out there, the people that have been counted out, written off, I just want to deliver hope and tell you guys that you can make it through anything. You know, I'm living proof. I did it with no one. I did it with just me, myself, and I, using health and fitness as my religion, um, using my willingness to just stay out of the darkness, my resilience to pull me through. And if I can do it, I just want to show that anybody can do it. So I lost my mum when I was in jail. So I was in jail and I got a visit from the chaplain, and my mum had died. And you know, it was one of those moments. It was obviously a big turning point in my life. I still went on to reoffend, but it was yeah, when mum died, I didn't get the chance to make things right because of the circumstances around the whole thing. Then the same again happened with dad. I was due to get out after a 4 year sentence, and then dad died in another freak accident. So once again, I was being reminded by the universe these are the ultimate consequences of my actions, of making the wrong decision, not being able to go to my parents' tangies. It wasn't the system's. Yep, I blame the system because it was the easiest thing at the time. Like, they wouldn't let me out. I only had 3 months to go and visit them. But I was also wise enough to know that if I carry on blaming the system, that there's a good chance that I was going to always keep coming back to jail because I was never really taking full accountability for my actions. When ultimately, the biggest consequences behind me committing crime was that I never got to farewell my parents. My children had to grow up without their dad. One of my sons became a patch gang member, um, which I love. I love my son, and I love my son and what he stands for. But to me, as a father, these were the biggest, and as a person, these were the biggest consequences of doing crime and making the actions. And then, of course, all the people that I hurt through doing crime that had no idea, like, why I was doing these things, these drug-fueled behaviors. Uh, Even coming off meth, I came off meth because I got myself into a drug-induced like psychosis where I just thought everyone was a cop, and I was trying to purposely get myself put in prison to because I was just mentally not well. Um, that was enough to scare me off meth. I didn't want anything to do with it. It's been a big haze, but from pretty much from 15 all the way up. It's just been a big blockbuster movie of but through all those years, trials and tribulations, there's been many moments where I've been trying to climb out of my own darkness, but wasn't aware or didn't have the tools to grow and evolve, or just falling back into society, even family, just telling me you're never gonna be anyone. You're just this, you're just that. Like when my family knew I was gonna go back to school and study, people laughed at me. They said, "Bro, you didn't even finish school. Like, what makes you think you can do that? What makes you think you can do that?" It's been a lot of going backwards and forwards, and then just at some point going, you know what? If I can make it through all that if I can get fully pledged gang members to do burpees and follow my sports competitions that I created inside to create pro-social environments, if I can pull across gangsters and have these real conversations that they can't even have with their clubs, no disrespect to any clubs, but to me that was saying that I have some sort of influence and I need to use my influence to help prevent people from going down the shit that I went through, and also deliver out hope that you can be whoever you want to be, but it's gonna take a lot of work. Like, and if you're out here doing it real, congratulations to you. But once you make it through, oh man, it's just like I just got a mean release right then. Like, I don't have to look over my shoulder anymore. I don't have to pretend to be like I'm not a criminal. Like, I don't advertise to people that I've got that lifestyle, but I'm proud of where I've come to where I am now. And now I just want to change lives by doing things a different way, combining my skills from the streets and my knowledge of the real world and turning it into something that will help people, that will help empower people, that will help people stop um blaming themselves, stop using entitlement, stop taking the victim stance. Let's heal. Let's face this truth together, and let's just heal. So I got 4 children. I also got 2 beautiful grandchildren. Zinni boy and Mila Jane. So yeah, grandfather. I love my title. I rip it. You know, not many granddads look like this, right? Straight up. And that's real talk. And not many dads out there being present, doing everything. Like I run my household, I run my business, I run my community, I look after my children. I could be a better dad, and I'm always challenging myself every day to be better. But there's not many dads out there doing it like me. And we definitely need more of our dads to step up. So just going into my last sentence, I was still dealing and making money inside. Probably making a little more than I make right now, but it was just coming at a bit of a risk and a bit of a cost. And even me doing all that dealing inside, almost led to me losing my life because of the way the system and the food chain works inside. But just the price of what that cell phone would have cost me, or the price of what those drugs would have cost me, looking back at it, I just think, wow, like I could have lost my life. And for what? Ego, for fame, for the game. Come on, man. Like, these guys should know by now that people are only loyal to you for what they can get, right? What they can get from you at the end of the day. Yeah, that's what it is, right? So because I was getting caught up in dealing and stuff, I was still facing outside charges. I was still in high security. My plan though, bro, was to get out and just start again. I went to the meatworks. I done that hard work for 3 months. I earned enough money to save me a car. So I really went grassroots, even though all around me, everyone was living large. And they were telling me, man, just make the call. We'll make this happen. We'll make this happen. Um, but because of what happened with my dad, because of the pain that I caused my kids, like I was still hurting from all that. Like I'm trying to heal myself in the last 4 years, but still crying in my room because I knew the pain that my kids were going through, and I still wasn't strong enough to fix everything as you would as a dad. Like we grew up in island families where like if you shame the family, like, it kind of, the whole family carries it. So I had that thinking, so I just wanted to stay away from my family. My family found me, gave me a place to stay, and just let me figure it out on my own. So I came out. I um I found it hard, just like everyone who comes out, like, you're with your family, but you're still like a stranger amongst your family. So I spent a lot of the long nights training, building myself up. But I was scared. Scared of society, scared of rejection. Didn't know where I fit in. Um, but I was grateful enough that I'd learnt enough tools inside to start and finding ways to do things differently. By using health and fitness has always been my religion. It's got me out of the darkness of everything. And I guess through the last 4 years, or the last couple years, that's how pushing weight was born. So pushing weight was born from some real life events, and then obviously pushed on and encouraged by people who could see me in the role. So now in my life, I've gotten out and I've done my own healing journey. I've been tested in my character and my learning. So using my learning and experience, I started to mentor youth and people in my community. Mentor kids that have what I call special powers. So who have more requirements in terms of learning disabilities, autism, all these type of what they call yeah, I call them superpowers anyway. I've been labelled that from the system all my life, and that's why I was always told to sit over there, because apparently I was labelled this. When I look at these kids, and when I look at anybody, my biggest strength is to uplift and empower people. I'm not the best coach, I'm not the best dad, but I'm the best motivator and uplifting people. So I was doing this in my community with kids, with adults, and we're really working together to heal families. It's about hope. That's what Pushing Weight's about, my bro. So the name behind Pushing Weight is, obviously, we went from pushing weight, which on the street is a slang for selling drugs, to now we just strictly push weight. I live by that saying and I preach by it. When I got out, my kids didn't have much hope. And looking around, knowing that I was part of the reason they were in the spot they were in, and now that I've gained their trust, took years to repair some of that damage, and it's still gonna take more years. It's a real surreal feeling. I don't know how to describe it. Like, I walk everywhere, and people come up to me and they acknowledge me, and they want my autographs. They tell me about how pushing weight has changed their life. I have people that know nothing about crime, that know nothing about me, who go on to say how significant events or things that I have done have helped to shape their life or change the way they look at people like me. Um, you know, it's mind blowing, brother. Like, we're about to change things in a way that it's never been changed, and show people that it can be done, and that we don't deserve to sit over there. Like, we've come from a big line of warriors and chiefs, and we deserve to be on the world stage, showcasing our talent, and not just using these muscles, by using these muscles to create better people and just do better things. So it's a magical movement that continues to keep giving. And every day I'm just blessed, and like, I have moments, bro, where I can walk past and see a bird and I cry. I cry because I'm in touch with my feelings. I just show extreme gratitude to sniffing that flower on the side of the road, to helping that old lady across the road, to doing things that people just look at us and think, oh my god, look at those guys with all those tattoos down there playing with those kids. Or like, it just makes you just look at life in a different way, bro, that very few will understand unless you came from my era, know where I've been, or know where I'm going. The biggest message I want to put out to my brothers is, Stop seeing vulnerability as a weakness. I preach it a lot on my TikToks, on my Instagram. Being vulnerable is a superpower. But of course, you're only going to be vulnerable with people that you know you can trust. Expect to get hurt. Don't worry about it. If you've done things with the right intention, let that hurt be a lesson. Because there's always blessings in everything. Speak up, reach out. There's a lot of us out here that are willing to help as long as you put in the work for yourself. Your kids deserve to have you in their life. Just show them that you care. Show your kids that you care. Make an effort to be present. Put an effort. Just be there. That's all they want. They don't want you to convince them or buy them this latest toy and that. They just want your time. And that's the best thing you could give anybody in your life, especially if you're like making some sort of comeback. It's just your time and effort. Your money in that doesn't mean shit. But learn this lesson to make you a better human. Yeah, pretty much what I got to say, brother.
That's us.